Hello, everybody. This is Paul Herman, the Prince of Motivation and host of Zaka Presents My Journey. We're creating this vulnerable and positive platform where you can get inspired and motivated from different leaders from our community. Today, our guest is Richardson Pierre, who is an entrepreneur and also owns his own trucking company, which we're going to be talking a lot more about later on. Richardson, welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here. Absolutely.
Yes, yes, yes. I know you juggle a lot of things and you do it pretty well. You do it pretty well.
I try.
So, I mean, as someone who multitasks as well too, I'm definitely gonna enjoy this one right here. But before we get into all the great things that you're doing, just express us a little bit more about your journey, where you from, and like where you grew up.
Absolutely. So I'm Haitian and I was born in Haiti, particularly in Saint-Marc. It's a city in the Latibonite region, Southwest. And I was there till about I was 5 years old. And then age five, my family moved to the capital, Port-au-Prince. And it was fun. As a kid growing up in Haiti, they're always telling you that, it's a so-called, impoverished nation. But when you're a kid, playing with your friends and enjoying life, you don't even see what's
You don't
going
even
on,
notice it.
you never notice it.
Yep.
So at about 8 years old, my family immigrated to the US, to Florida. And from there again, you know, as they say, your dress come,
The switch up.
you switch up, right? So I go from being this very outgoing, popular kid, to shy, reserved, not knowing the language, not know anyone. And then it's been a journey. So it's been pretty fun.
Could you tell us a little bit more about like that your life in Haiti? Like, what was life in Haiti growing up? Obviously, you gave us a little reference point of where you grew up, the
Yeah.
geographically, but like, what was life in Haiti? And then obviously, what was life moving into South Florida at a young age?
Life in Haiti was pretty, for me, sweet. Again, my family, for the most part, in Haiti, they say if you have like maids, you kind of made it. So I don't know how much we made it, but we had help, we had maids and things like that. So when I was in the capital in Port-au-Prince, we had plenty of people around the house that was helping the family out in terms of taking care of the household for us. My mother moved to the States in '94. So both my parents were here in the States, and it was just me and my siblings and family members who was helping around the house. And man, I remember walking to school for miles, and you have all the dirt and grime from
Oh,
your boots and
yeah,
walking
yeah,
back and
yeah,
forth
yeah.
for miles. I remember just playing pickup soccer in the neighborhood, I remember just they could beat you as a student, if you didn't answer the question correctly. I remember getting, hit in the hand with a ruler, things like that. I remember summertime playing like with marbles and stuff,
Oh, yeah,
when it
yeah,
was still
yeah, yeah. Come
playground.
on.
You know, like I remember just watching, as Haitians, we love watching those old karate movies with Jean-Claude Van Damme and
Oh,
Steven
yeah, Bruce
Seagal,
Lee. Yeah, yeah,
Bruce Lee and
yeah.
stuff.
Last
So
Dragon.
it was fun. Like, to be honest with you, I loved the experience. I left at 8 years old, so I didn't get the full experience, from, 0 to 18 or whatever. But what I do remember, my time being there, I absolutely loved it. I have no whatsoever about Haiti. I loved it.
Mhm, mhm. I know at times in the media, obviously Haiti gets a bad rep at times, the Haitian community. But I'm very happy to hear these stories, right? That there are places within Haiti. I know sometimes people just they automatically assume, oh, it's Haiti or it's Jamaica or it's something just because of something that they heard on the media. It kind of like pushes them away. But I'm glad you're expressing those stories and saying that it really wasn't nothing. It was just a normal. The life you were living is exactly what I was living in the Bronx. You know what I'm saying? Nothing crazy. It was just that. How did your experience set your mindset growing up in Haiti? How did that early childhood experience growing up in Haiti set your mindset for the work ethic that you have now currently?
I think first things first, you appreciate the idea of hard work. Like here in the States, there is something called a safety net, where the government offers help, like a baseline. But in a country like Haiti, there's no safety net. The idea if you don't work, you don't eat is really true out there, you know? So just seeing everyone just grinding, you see women with babies on their arm with a basket on top of their head, at 5 a.m. walking to the market to go sell fruits and vegetables to feed their kids, you know? So just seeing that all around you, how people, they don't complain, they just get up and get on with life,
Get to it.
meaning that they had to because they had kids to feed, they had to feed themselves, obviously, and there's no social safety net, to rely on, and you'd have to get up and do it or starve. So just the idea of, whatever it takes to, you know, make a living for yourself was what you had to do. So just seeing that you know, kind
So
of stood out at me.
are you saying that like there wasn't no like any type of government funding services that are provided to the community for people that are maybe less unfortunate?
There's none whatsoever, none whatsoever. So, so that means that from some kids can't even afford to go to school because of the fact that they had to stay back from going to school to help out their mom or their father out in the field, to work. So it's tough. So the idea of being lazy, that's was
Not an
totally
option.
out of the question, not an option. Exactly.
What were like some of the life lessons that you learned in your childhood that you still like implement in your career today?
And the first thing I gotta say is just always show up no matter what. As a
Come on.
Haitian, you are taught you cannot miss school. Like my father would have my behind if I missed the bus. So one of the first like I know between maybe fourth or between second and sixth grade, I didn't miss a day of school. If
Okay.
rarely, because you had to show up for school. That was
Yeah.
without question.
Sick,
You know,
broken
so
bones.
yes. I got some actually, but yeah, you just had to show up no matter what. So I've learned that, whatever happens, there's a challenge that happens to you in life, show up and face it no matter what, you know, and there's gonna be ups and downs, like one day is things looking great, like business closing deals and, the council dropping dimes, things like that, things look up and running, beautiful, but, at the same time, to stay active, stay prudent, don't just rest on your laurels because you never know when the next blown tire or a deal falls through the crack.
Mm. And I think a lot of individuals, when going through, when on a high, we forget that there will be a low at some point in time.
Exactly.
And I know that sometimes when you're always on a low, it's so hard to think that there is a high, right? But I'm glad how you kind of breaking that into perspective. I mean, I think that is a great thing, showing up for yourself. A lot of the guests, I'm going to make sure there's a lot of parallels in a lot of the conversations that I have with a lot of these guests. And one of the common denominators that a lot of them have expressed is showing up for yourself. Because obviously, when they came here to America and they start to, find their footing, they're finding their in their various different industries. It was very hard walking into the room for a lot of them, knowing that they were the only one representing themselves as black and brown, right? But then once they got into the room, they were like, you know what? I can only show up for me, right? I can't show up for the next person next to me. I have to show up for myself, and that's how they started to kind of, change that stigma that they weren't um, capable of being in that room. Imposter syndrome. They kept on showing up, showing up, showing up, showing up at the best version of themselves. And before you know it, they incline up the ladder and now they're in higher positions, leadership positions at their businesses or even in their own profession. So I'm glad that you said that because that is a very important line that has been shared here at the Zaka platform. Um, what was like when you moved to South Florida, right? What was the career that you wanted to pursue when you came to the States? Like obviously growing up in Haiti, you might have thought something, but then when you came to the States, you're like, wait, you have a lot of options in front of you. Like, what did you want to be, once you moved here to the States? And were your dreams, what were like those dreams and aspirations?
Well, this is gonna sound real crazy, but
I'm
my
listening.
first idea of like career goals, what I wanted to do was to be an actor, believe it or not.
Okay.
That stemmed from because when you're in Haiti, you're watching all these Hollywood movies, all these action stars, like, wow,
Mm,
what?
okay,
I could be
I
like
see
that.
that.
I could be this guy, So being like an 8, 9, 10 years old, I'm like, oh man, I could be this. I want to learn, martial arts. I want to beat up the bad guys, things like that, But then when I got here,
Oh
first I
no.
was
I can only imagine. I'm not to cut you off, but I can only imagine that conversation with your parents. I wanted to take martial arts so I can be an athlete. Like that could be a hard conversation.
Right. Yeah, as you can imagine. So it went from that to now I'm on into sports, I'm into football, things like that. What, maybe I could be a professional athlete, but I was always like very scrawny for my age and size or whatever. I was like, at one point I was like 6 feet, 150 pounds, so sports
Oh,
wasn't really gonna cut it out for me. I was very scrawny as a kid,
get run over real
so
quick as a running back or a
exactly, I
wide
could kill
receiver.
out there, right? Exactly. So it ended up being where I'm like, you know what? If I can't really be out in the field, but I always have an eye for seeing talent. I'm a great talent evaluator. So maybe I could be like a general manager. So
Okay.
I'm thinking that I could run the front office. Yeah, I could see that I could climb the ranks. And now I'm the one choosing the players. And like I think it was Bill Parcells that said he wants to kind of like, if he wants to make the meal, he wants to buy the groceries, meaning buy the players and put the team together. I'm like, I could do that. I think I could be like a front office kind of guy and still be in sports somehow.
Mhm. And is that something you pursue?
Not very long. Not very long.
Okay,
Um,
I'm trying to piece it all together because I know when the listeners hear about what you're really doing, I'm trying to find out
right.
how we just went from that to, we got up this ladder.
Yeah, so after college, I'm not sure if that's your next question, but after
Oh yeah,
college,
education was gonna be the next thing on my list.
yeah. So I ended up going to Florida State,
Great school.
Tallahassee. Yeah, great school, had a great time there. And after college, I graduated around 2011. As you may know, we had the crash in '08. So between '08 and maybe 2014 or 2015, it was not really a good time for college graduates in terms of getting to the workplace and those entry level positions. I was always about, oh, you have an experience or free internship. So after college, I was an intern for the soccer team in Orlando called Orlando City Soccer.
And
Yeah, I just moved down
before
to
you go any
Orlando.
further, just a real question. What was the a question I had to ask? What was the major?
My major was sports management with a
Oh,
minor in finance. So
okay,
that's
all
how I
right.
thought about. I got you. But yeah, so that's how I thought about being a general manager. You know what? Let me do sports management and kind of climb my way up from you know, that way. And I interned there, and the more I work in sports, I worked there and also in Jacksonville with the Jacksonville Armada. And the more I work in sports, you're not gonna believe this, the more I hated sports,
Mm,
which was kind of
okay.
crazy. Yes, the reason why is when you work in sports, you are so caught up with the back end stuff, you know, working with the players, working with fans, selling tickets or whatever not. So you so in the back end of what's going on, it takes a lot of work. Like people come on Saturday and Sunday to sit there and enjoy the game, enjoy the atmosphere, but there's a lot of work behind the scene that takes
Yes.
place. And working behind the scene, crazy hours, I'm like, man, I can't even watch sports anymore. I'm like, man, this ain't for me. So I guess you could say the reality of sports and working in sports behind the scenes made me change my idea of wanting to be a general manager.
Okay. So it's like, but again, the good thing about it is that you actually attempted it. Some people are still like lingering, through that motion and saying, well, maybe I should get involved. Maybe there's a lot of those questions, but you're actually trying to implement those things right now. And the quicker you figure it out, the quicker you can move on, right? To the
Exactly.
next thing, which we're gonna get into, right? But I see how you got the two different degrees to kind of help you out. And you tested the waters and you moved around a little bit with it. So what was like one of the biggest challenges you faced when you started to take on these roles?
Being an intern was it was fun. Obviously at first you with the team, you're in the team office, they have like you working and there's what's on TV. So it was fun at first, but like I said, after a while, it became not so much fun. But my first biggest challenge, believe it or not, was cold calling.
Oh no,
um,
no,
was
no.
cold calling. Yes, so
That's
I still
that's
remember my
that is
first
hard.
time. Still remember my first time having to do a cold call, and they give me a list of people that have expressed interest in buying season tickets. So I said, you know what? Let's do this. So I took the list out, put it on the desk, and I was just like scared to death of rejection or them saying no over the phone to me. And I remember this guy telling me that, you know what? I can tell you're trying. I can tell you're new at this, but you're trying. Good, good job. I said, wow. He extended me grace, but I was terrible at cold calling at first. I'm a
Uh-huh.
lot better than now after like years of practice. But like the first few weeks of cold calling, I didn't get any sales. I didn't close any deals at all first few weeks.
Sales is a very, very hard profession, but cold calling is a true, like, I think like in the dance world, if I had to compare the dance world, because I dance, it's like ballet. It's like a fundamental. If you could cold call, then when you meet the individual, when you meet the customer, face to face, it's a little bit easier at that point in time because you can build a relationship face to face. But cold calling, you don't know what they look like, what they sound like, what are their preferences, what do they like. It's so many different obstacles that you're facing. But again, you do it. So out of curiosity now, how long did you do corporate before you said, I got to get up out of here? I got to be an entrepreneur.
Ah, and I'll say, mm, I say 5 years. I say about 5 years. To also answer your question further, just to kind of give a bit more meat, um, bone here to your question. Another challenge I also faced, but was doing a free internship and still have bills to pay. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so doing a free internship to kind of quote unquote build your experience, right? To kind of start at the bottom level to put that experience up and climb the corporate ladder. At the same time, your cell phone bill's still going to be due, so is rent, so is car note,
That's right.
insurance, and so forth. So I think that's another challenge also I faced was, doing a free internship, which obviously doesn't pay, at the same time, still have your day-to-day bills you have to account for. So that was
Mm-hmm.
another challenge I faced.
And that's a big challenge. I mean, obviously not having the finances, that's another stress. That's another burden. And coming from a college, a distinguished university, your family members are probably like, wait, what's going on here? This
Exactly.
ain't adding up. And you're like, don't worry,
Exactly.
it's gonna make sense. It's gonna make sense, right? Have faith in me, right? We did not drop a lot of this money or time or effort to get you here to have you
Right.
struggle, right?
Exactly. Imagine you have like student loan, like, hey, student loan, you gotta start paying that back in 6 months after graduation, you know? So, but yeah, I did it for 5 years. I was in corporate for about going on 6 years. From Orlando as an intern, I got a job still doing ticket sales, with a new startup soccer team again here in Jacksonville called the Jacksonville Armada. So all in all, I was in corporate for about 5 years before I transitioned.
Hmm. And what drove you to become an entrepreneur? Like, I obviously cold calling was one of the big ones, one of the big reasons you left. But besides the cold calling, what got you to a place where you were like, look, I got to get out of here?
Man, I think the first thing is the idea of time and how short time is and having control of my time. Anyone that work corporate would tell you, like your work schedule kind of takes over your life. Your vacation, everything is your work schedule first, and your whole life revolves around your work schedule. So that was kind of annoying to me, to be honest. And then two, I just feel like just being in corporate America, my goals and dreams I want to accomplish for my family, myself. I always felt like I was never gonna be paid enough to accomplish my dreams. Like no job is gonna pay me what I feel like I deserve to check off the boxes. Buy my home, buy my mother a house. Or travel around the world. So I just felt like overall, just having like a regular job, 9 to 5 for the next 40, 45 years, wasn't really gonna help me reach my goals in life.
Now, being an entrepreneur, you leave corporate America. First and foremost, your family members are probably like scratching their head now. It was hard enough to see you struggle. It's even harder to see you walk away and be like, all right, I, I'm calling it quits. I'm going to pursue something. Talk to us now about your first business that you opened up, right? It was like 2020, was that 2016 or so?
2016, correct.
2016, you opened up your first business. Talk to us a little about that. Talk about the significance of the business and like what did you learn during that time of opening that business?
The first thing I learned was overcoming fear. because I think one thing corporate America does is instill like a false sense of security. I work 40 hours, I get paid every 2 weeks, so I'm gonna get paid, cover my bills, and live on the rest, right? But when you are fully self-employed and you have to rely on yourself. So if you don't make money, you can't pay your bills. So just that now you have to really just fully rely on yourself only, and not a paycheck that's coming every Friday. That fear of what if it doesn't come? What if I don't make any sales? What if I don't make any money? What am I gonna do? So the first thing I had to overcome was just fear, just that pure fear of what if it doesn't work out, you know, and then just having the courage, and I learned something recently, the word courage has the root word cœur, which is French for heart, right? Cœur.
Okay.
And so the word courage means of the heart, courage. So I'm like, oh wow. So that does really makes plenty of sense. So just having the courage to just go out on a limb and take that chance. And just learning the lingo of the business world, you know. Just I think it's a language, whatever profession you're doing, whether it's, hey, I'm an engineer, I'm a doctor, I work in Wall Street, whatever you're doing, there's a certain type of language,
Yeah, you have to
lingo
know.
that goes along with it. And
Yeah.
just knowing how to, go into that world and quickly learn, and how things work.
Hmm. And the first business was that it was tax services, right?
Correct.
This is when you start to apply a little bit of that degree, the financing degree.
Exactly.
Did
Exactly.
someone inspire you to open up a tax service?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So I actually had experience in tax before. I opened up my own office. In 2014, I believe, my brother had an office up in Tallahassee. So I worked with him there for a little bit. And also his friends and family that I already knew that have already opened their own tax office. So because I had some people that I already know that had already done it before me, so it made, even though I was kind of scared to finally quit my job completely, but just knowing that if I need to call a cousin, if I need to call a friend that's already doing it,
Yeah,
that
that's good.
I could do that. So that did help me kind of like finally force myself to go ahead and do it.
And that kind of sets the tone for like some of your first mentors in the game, people who are able to give you some access to some of or even stop you from making the wrong decisions, early on in that phase of your career. Now you're obviously you wear multiple hats and you have multiple businesses in different industries. From tax services. I know you were doing real estate. And then also the truck business as well, which I want to definitely know about that, right? What inspired you to take on, all these different roles, and how do you navigate um, in this industry being an immigrant every day?
Great question, actually. Man, what inspired me? I think first thing that inspired me is I think every immigrant has a dream of like kind of like retiring their parents, you know, find their parents in a beautiful home somewhere and them not just settled and just living comfortable on them. So that's one of my inspiration. And also just to able to travel, man. I love travel. I've been to a few countries, such as, you know, France and Greece and so forth. So I love traveling and just be able to have my own freedom, my own time, and to travel as I would like. And I think every man, just even woman also, should strive for financial independence. I think that's always been one of my dreams was to be financially independent. So that's one of the reasons why.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned the word travel. You like traveling
Absolutely.
from Haiti to Florida. That was one flight. Where else have you gone in the world? I always like to ask this question.
Oh man, I've been to obviously France, been to Colombia, I've been to Canada, been to the Bahamas, where else? Um, I've been to Turks and Caicos
Oh, Turks and Caicos.
and
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
got you.
Turks and Caicos, and what else have I been? I
You
think I'm
visited
missing
some
one.
hot places. I'm seeing a common denominator here. You
Oh yeah.
you not going to Alaska. I see that. That's
No, no, I can't do Alaska. No, I'm from the Caribbean. We like it warm. I can't do
okay.
Alaska.
Okay. How does
No.
your Haitian culture help you out when you're on these voyages and stuff like that? Has it helped you?
Absolutely. I think one thing I've noticed, surprisingly, it's just everywhere. Because there's always one. There's always one.
Oh, jeez.
Everywhere you go, there's always one. Yeah. I remember I was in Greece and I was in Athens and me and my wife were on a honeymoon and we just walking, sightseeing, and we saw a guy speaking Creole, like, oh, I think it's Haitian, and one thing I love about Haitians and my people is that it don't matter where you are in the world. If you meet another Haitian, it's like meeting like a long lost cousin. Right
Yes.
away,
Yes.
you're shaking hands, you're smiling, or you're from Haiti, what part of your families are from. So that family atmosphere we have about each other, no matter where we are in the world, if I see another Haitian, I'm gonna hug him up, I'm gonna dap him up, and I'm gonna say, brother, where you from? Where you from in Haiti? I just love that about us.
Yes. 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 Yeah. That is true. That is true. That it's something about the Caribbean culture, and it's something about like certain islands in the Caribbean that really dive in when it comes to that. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, you was in Greece, right? You're walking with your wife, you just got married, you're on a honeymoon, you're just randomly walking in Greece and you hear someone speaking Creole. And for the listeners that don't know, Creole is one of the languages that is speaking in Haiti, right? Spoken in Haiti. So the fact that that actually happened, you were like, hold up, let me stop what we're doing, taking pictures and sightseeing, and let's introduce ourselves right there. It's like mandatory because our parents and our grandparents told us that. They were like, respect your elders, and if you know someone from your culture, you got to make sure you greet them. And
Absolutely. I love
it's
that.
crazy how like something that we would have looked at as kids and be like, Mom, why, or Dad, why? We're actually doing it currently right now in our day to day life, right?
Yeah.
Wow, God, congratulations on that. Right? I mean, visiting all these places, seeing it, seeing the world is always a great thing. You get to see different life from different perspectives, not just the eyes that you have, but through the eyes of the world. And I think that that's probably one of the biggest life lessons I could always share with anybody. Go travel. If you really want to learn about yourself, you really want to learn about this world and where it's going and where we came from as people, travel. Go see the world. Uh,
So,
Now, talk to us about the traveling into this trucking company. I want to know
okay.
about that. The trucking company. Are you driving the trucks? Or you got a whole bunch of staff? What is going
Actually
on?
got a CDL. I actually got a CDL. So I've driven before all across the US. So back in 2019, I had a friend who was a truck driver, and I do taxes. So one year I do his taxes, I see him, he's making 40,000. The next year, 60. And that third year, I see $150,000. I'm like,
Woo!
wow. I'm like, that's a big jump. That's a very big jump. It kind of pricked my ears here. So long story short, I decided, you know what? Mind you, he's not a college graduate, anything like that. I say, you know what? Let me just find out more. Let me talk to him. So right away, you know, I talked to him. Say, yeah, it's okay, but there's some ups and downs. It's not always all that sweet or whatever. I mentioned this to another one of our friends, and he decided he wants to also jump into trucking. And then that shit goes before me. So he started his own company before I started my own company.
Okay.
But yeah, so then I got into it. When I first got into it, the friend of mine that was already a driver, truck driver, he left his truck to come train me how the business run. You know, um, I recommend anyone that want to start a trucking company to first start with an actual major carrier, which is the name for the truck company, with a major carrier and learn through them first. So anyway, I first started with them and everything is brand new. How to back up the truck, how to book the loads,
Yeah.
how
And you
to,
doing this all by yourself?
yeah, all by myself. It was me and my sister. So she was handling like the paperwork and stuff. And at first I didn't have a driver. So it was just me and him, and he was training me how the business worked, and it's fun, oh man, I'm in Atlanta, I'm in Kansas City, I'm in LA, it's to see,
Yeah.
what would cost you like. maybe $800, on a travel trip. Now you could just get paid to go to Atlanta, get paid to go to New York City and things like that. So, so it was pretty fun. Funny thing is, I think that November we had a first incident where a trailer burned down. A trailer burned down. Yeah.
I'm calling it quits.
So
I'm
yeah.
calling.
So
I'm out.
yeah. So right away, you are learning the ups and downs of trucking, and it's challenging. Trucking, I'll say is a very much a dog eat dog type of industry, meaning that it's not too much friendliness. There's no, how was your morning? How's your day going? There's none of that in trucking. It's very cut and dry. And from the brokers, the shippers, the receivers, DOT, um, everyone involved in trucking is a straight, very blunt, cut to the chase, all about
Mhm.
the money kind of industry,
True.
and
Because they gotta go.
and
Pick them and go.
yeah, and you definitely have to learn how to navigate all of that, and it's tough, with trucking, a lot of big numbers, you could say, hey, I gross 60K, 100K in this month, or this last few months.
Yeah.
And but with trucking, those numbers can really fool you, and I think I was a little bit fooled by that at first, seeing those big numbers from my friend. Oh, wow, you made a $250,000 last year, in trucking. But it's such a high expense business in terms of, breakdowns, paying drivers, maintenance and everything else,
Mhm.
so fuel. So it's a high number industry in terms of how much you can make, but it also a high cost industry also. So you make gross 60K in a month, and then when you look at your account, you've only net like maybe 15.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. 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 That's a big hit. That's a big hit. Well, I mean, it definitely is a profession in which people do find an enjoyment. Just driving around. Like you said, you get paid to go to other places. You get to, in a sense, you say you like to go see the world. You get to see the state. And travel to those places to see what Atlanta looks like. Kansas, places that you probably would never pick on the map to go to, but you have the ability to go there, right? What is like something that you would recommend, or something like, just out of curiosity, like how are you juggling your personal life and also juggling all these businesses at the same time, right? I know that obviously it was a family run business, so you had your sister kind of helping you out, but like, how are you juggling your personal life? You said you also married as well. Your wife is not going to get, start that argument real quick and be like, hey, what's going on?
It's tough. It's very tough actually, in the sense that, you know, um, eventually I did hire drivers, it's tough. I say one thing's first is you got to be very intentional in your time management. Very intentional. I'm still not great, at that just yet. But in terms of time management, planning, executing, like everything got to be very intentional. Every hour of your day got to has to have a purpose. You can't
Yeah,
say, between 6 to 8 p.m. I lost those 2 hours of, just on TikTok, on Instagram. No, those hours are really important,
yeah,
when you have multiple things going on. Um,
yeah. Now you're right. You're
so, and
right.
also,
That's
yeah,
that's big.
yeah, and you got to take care of yourself also. You definitely got to take care of yourself, because at the end of the day, what's the point of conquering the world, but you can't physically enjoy it, So just take care of yourself, eating well, getting lots of rest, and and take time to yourself for your mental health also. Sometimes you just need a day or two to just spend time to yourself and your own thoughts and
Disconnect.
understand where you at. Yeah.
Yeah, disconnect. I'm going to give you that. What is like one of the, obviously opening that business of trucking, right, and trying to navigate through that? What was like one of the biggest obstacles you faced managing that company? Work. How did you work through it?
Biggest obstacle, to be honest with you, is finding good drivers. Finding drivers who are going to take care of your equipment, finding drivers who are going to be diligent and doing the pre-trip, which is where they have to take about 10, 15 minutes to walk around the truck, make sure everything is okay, there's no blown tires, everything look good. So just having guys who are proactive, diligent, and take care of your equipment is very tough. guys who want to work. Surprisingly, you think everyone wants to work right now, but that's not the case. Guys who wants to work. Another thing is just managing paperwork. Surprisingly,
Yeah,
as
stay
as
on top of
a
that. It's a good point. Yeah.
yeah, that's very important. Just as a business owner, you must know where everything goes. All the numbers go, paperwork goes, who should delegate this to, who should be doing this, who should be doing that. So just stay on top of everything. Because at the end of the day, it's you. You're in control. So if things fall to the crack, you can't really blame anybody else. Well, you didn't do this. Well, at the end of the day, the buck stopped with you. So that's one thing you got to learn is that the buck stop with you. You have to stay on top of everyone, but also stay on top of yourself. Make sure that you're making sure everyone's doing their part and you're doing your part.
Mm.
I think that's the hardest thing I had to learn in terms of I had to learn to, okay, one, when things don't go as planned, not to, say, not to go off on so-and-so driver or whoever, but to really say, you know what, I didn't make sure that he knew what to do at that point in time, you know. So just kind of like whatever happens, knowing that at the end of the day, what goes wrong falls on my lap,
Mm.
So that's definitely one of the hardest things.
Yeah.
You gotta,
Being an entrepreneur, that's always the hard thing right there. Is everything falls on you. Because at the end of the day, it's your company, right? So if your workers are not living up to the standard of the business, it's you, right? If the marketing is not there, it's you. If the financing and the paperwork is not there, it's you. You could always point the finger and be like, well, I had an accountant or I had a driver, right? But you hired them, right? It's your job to, stay on top. So I can only imagine juggling all that and also the other stuff as well too. You know, how do you stay motivated? With all these various different roles, you go entrepreneur, business owner, sales, sales personnel, obviously cold calling, right? How do you manage to stay motivated throughout all these various different industries?
I think my biggest motivation is probably I feel like I've not yet reached the best version of myself. You know, I think everyone has an idea in their head, you know, what that looks like for themselves, in terms of what their dreams are, what they're accomplishing, who they are supporting, just whatever that is. I think everyone has an idea, what that best version of themselves look like, So I just feel like I've not got anywhere close to that just yet. So that's my main motivation is just to, just continue to work on myself.
Mm, mm. With all the businesses that you've built, what's like a big plan that you have coming up? Anything that you could forecast, especially with these businesses and stuff like that you're working on for 2020, the end of 2024 going into 2025?
And to be honest with you, I feel like I've really not really focused on real estate the way, I really want to. I think like trucking I've really slowed down the last couple of years in terms of after COVID, there was like a 1 year where it really kind of like peaked, but since COVID, it's kind of been just going down with the rates, brokers not really, offering the best payload. So I've decided to really just, focus on real estate a lot more going into next year.
Okay. Now with real estate, I'm sorry, because I know you have various different industries, but with real estate, what's been like a big setback within the whole real estate thing industry that you've been a part of? But then how are you working towards that? Like pushing through that.
I, I think I think the biggest thing I've noticed is that it seemed like prior to 2019, it was very low rates, like 2.9, 3 point something with low rates. And then after 2019, you were seeing like 6, 7% rates. So there's like people that bought their home pre-2019 and those that are buying after 2019. And I'm a wholesaler. So me, I'm looking for like the best deals possible. And finding like the right seller to me lately seemed pretty hard. Just because people that had bought their house, prior to 2019, they lock into a very low interest rate. And
Yeah.
why sell my house to go buy something with a lot more higher interest rate? So just finding, you know, sellers is gonna be a lot harder.
Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Well, I definitely want to ask you this question because you wearing multiple hats, juggling them, and actually doing pretty well with it, right? This question right here that I want to ask you is just that, you know, looking at your background, looking at the journey that you've been on, coming from Haiti, going to Florida, college, going into corporate, then saying bye bye corporate and get into your various different industries. What advice would you give to a younger version of yourself or a younger immigrant, first generation or second generation immigrant, who's aspiring to succeed in the entrepreneur uh, lifestyle?
The first thing I would say is just go for it, for many reasons. The first thing first is that it's easier to live with the idea that I went for it and failed than it is to live with the idea I could have been something. I could have done this. I could have done that. I should have done it. I didn't go for it. Like those thoughts really ate away at you. It really eats away at you at night. The idea that I didn't pursue my dreams. I didn't actually take the chance to take that leap of faith. Whether I pray you succeed. I pray that, everything goes perfectly, as planned. But even if it doesn't, the fact that you went out there and did it, you're gonna learn
Yeah,
so much more that you can apply into your next idea, your next venture, you know? And just whatever idea you have, do your research. Be very diligent, in doing your research, finding out, learn your industry. First thing I'll
yeah,
say is learn the industry, learn who the major players are, how they're moving, and how they're moving and what they're doing. And after doing your research, just put all your ducks in order. Not to look back saying that, okay, if this doesn't work out, I can go back and do my day job or whatever, but meaning that have an idea on how you're gonna finance the deal. Have an idea, okay, can I put um money away for 3 months, knowing that okay, it might take 3 months for me to start seeing a profit. So just being very diligent, proactive, and just have courage. Just go for it.
yeah. And you mentioned courage. Repeat that again. You mentioned it a little bit earlier. You said courage, but you said the word cur is the Haitian word for heart. Is that correct?
It's French. Yeah.
French.
So
Oh, French.
yeah. So yeah, cœur is like cœur would say que, but it really is cœur. So cœur is the French word for heart, and so courage means of the heart.
Hmm. Okay. Well, you definitely have of the heart with all these industries that you're a part of, man. Congratulations, congratulations, and much, much love and success to you. Thank you again for just sharing your story and just being present with us on this platform. I know a lot of our listeners are who are trying to juggle several different industries at the same time is definitely going to enjoy this conversation that we shared today. So, thank you again for just being on the show.
It was absolute pleasure.
Yes,
Pleasure.
yes.
Thank
And I
you.
want to let the listeners know if you want to hear more inspirational stories like Richardson, please check us out on ZakaConnect.com. Follow our social at Zaka Connect and follow our feed, Zaka, wherever you listen to your podcasts.